He's negotiated over $1 billion in deals with Walmart, McDonald's, and hundreds more companies, both big and small. He's a frequent guest on Fox News, CNN, Kiplinger, NPR, Forbes, and many more. He's even been an advisor to President Donald Trump. And now, for the first time ever, my guest tonight is going to reveal how to collect thousands of dollars from America's fastest growing companies before they go public. He says the secret is in this document of the 500 fastest growing startups in America right now. Companies that until now have been off limits to regular investors. But after 30 years of helping tiny companies grow and expand into cities across America, and watching insiders in these deals rake in tens of thousands of dollars in income month after month after month, Brad Thomas says he's discovered a strategy that allows anyone to collect income from hundreds of the companies on this list. That's right, not just one or two companies, but hundreds of fast-growing, privately held companies that most people otherwise can't invest in. And incredibly, he says you can start collecting this income right now, even in this crazy market, without setting up a special account, without massive upfront investments of 6 figures or more, and without waiting years for an initial public offering or other type of exit event to make money. In fact, he says it's simple and easy for you to collect this income using nothing more than your regular brokerage account. Brad Thomas, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, Brad, before we dive in, I want to let our viewers know that we have vetted your background before inviting you on. And I've got to say, you check all the boxes. I mean, you've worked with the biggest companies in the world. Your track record of success goes back decades. You've appeared on all the major media outlets. You teach at the prestigious New York University. I mean, you've even advised a former president. But it was this document right here that really set you apart. It's a detailed breakdown of the 500 fastest growing firms in North America right now. And it contains perhaps the most valuable piece of research ever sent in by a guest. And I've interviewed some of the best financial minds of our time, hedge fund managers, Wall Street executives, you name it. So that's saying a lot. This one piece of information, it just blew my mind. So let's go ahead and start right there. What is it about this document that makes it possible to make money from hundreds of America's fastest growing companies, all from just one ticker?
Sure. So this document was created by Deloitte. They are one of the most respected market research firms in the world. And it lists the 500 fastest growing companies in America in terms of revenue growth over the last 3 years. Can we put it on the top of the screen, please?
Sure. Here we go. It's up.
Okay. We're going to start at the bottom here. And as you can see, the first gain, the smallest gain, is 212%. And we're going to quickly scroll up here. But notice how everything just keeps getting bigger and bigger. 230%, 250%, 270%. There are over 100 companies here with gains of over 200%. And the numbers keep rising. Now we're at the 300% gains. Dozens of companies here too. 400%.
Okay, let me just interrupt here for a moment. You've already shown us hundreds of companies with revenue that grew 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. But you've got their names blurred out. So what's going on here, Brad? Who are these companies and how are they making so much money so fast? And more importantly, how can this help people watching at home build their wealth?
Don't worry, we'll get to that soon. But I want to show you this full list first because something big is going on in this list. But nobody is talking about it. And the only way you're going to grasp just how massive this opportunity is if I first show you this full list. And listen, I typically charge a lot of money for this type of insight and analysis. You can usually only get it as a paid-up subscriber to my Intelligent Income Investor service. But this is simply too important. So I want to lay out everything here today free of charge.
Wow. Okay. That sounds fair enough.
Okay. So now we're at 500%, 600%, 700%, 800%, 900%.
Okay, we're in the thousands now, right?
It keeps going. 2,000%, 3,000%. Okay, we're finally moving a bit quicker. 4,000%, 5,000%, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000%. And if we zoom all the way to the top, over 87,000%.
Brad, when you first sent me this list, my jaw hit the floor. I have 500 companies with growth starting at 212% and going all the way up to 87,037%. I mean, it's been nothing but doom and gloom from the mainstream media all year long, but even in the best years, gains like these are almost unheard of. But here you are showing 500 companies making money like crazy. I had no clue.
And you're not alone. Even though these are cream of the crop, the fastest growing companies in North America, outside of a handful of insiders, nobody knows they exist, even the biggest ones. I mean, I'm going to give you a few of the names on the list.
Okay.
Tell me if they ring a bell. Have you heard of Latch? They gain 1,568%.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
Or how about Simperis? A 2,723% gain.
Yeah, definitely not.
Chime in if any of these sound familiar. Flexity, 3,143%. Even, 4,154%. Connect, 5,699%. L7, 8,288%.
Not a one.
Expel, 12,858%. Maple, 15,315%. Shipwell, 32,670%.
Okay, no, no, and no. I've never heard of any of them.
And why not? Surely gains of this size deserve media attention.
Yeah, I think so. I'd love to hear more about companies growing like this.
But what you do hear on the news, nothing but bad news. War, inflation, crisis after crisis, which is why I bet not 1 in 1,000 investors know these fast-growing firms exist, much less how much money they're making. And that's why I'm here, Kim, to bring you the in-depth analysis you can't get from the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to share with you a major revelation. Understand, for 99.99% of people, what I'm going to tell you is a complete secret. Frankly, it's a secret to all but the most connected insiders on Wall Street. And it's more important, much more important than the sheer number of triple-digit, quadruple-digit, and 5-figure revenue growth gains on this list.
Okay, wait, more important than a list of 500 companies growing like crazy in the midst of what's probably the worst stock market in 50 years? Okay, Brad, you've got my attention. So what's the secret?
Quite simply, if you dig through this list of 500 companies with a fine-tooth comb, like I have, you'll start to notice a pattern. And the pattern is key because it's the pattern that makes you give the ability to make money from hundreds of these companies, all through just one ticker. In fact, every time these companies make money, you make money today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life.
Okay, Brad, I got to say my BS detector is starting to go off a little bit here. I'm going to need some more details about that. So if I understand you correctly, here's what you're saying. Okay, you're saying it's possible to, let's call it a piggyback, off hundreds of the fastest growing companies in America, tiny private companies that nobody knows about, that are essentially off limits to new investors, and make money every time they make money? I mean, forgive my skepticism, but that just seems impossible. I'm sure a lot of folks at home are thinking the exact same thing right now.
Kim, you hit the nail on the head. And I don't blame you for the skepticism because it was impossible until very recently. It's only possible now because of that pattern I uncovered that very few people are aware of. You see, because of this pattern, a unique kind of company has figured out a way to tap into the increasing revenue streams of these fast-growing firms, take a huge cut, and pass along 90% of the cash to regular investors.
Okay, wait, 90% of the cash goes to investors?
That's right, Kim, 90%. And that's why this is so lucrative. Because with all of these companies making so much money so fast, there's a lot of money to go around. And once you see it works, I think you'll be excited.
Okay, Brad, you've got some big shoes to fill with that promise you just made. Can you show us what this pattern is and how it works?
Yeah, let's do it. And regardless of anything else I say, here's the key piece of information I want everyone to take away tonight. Get a piece of paper, write it down. This will change your life. So here's the one thing that makes it all work. When I started digging into this list of 500 companies, I was stunned to find this one surprising pattern. Get this, out of the 500 companies, a whopping 368 hail from just one tiny sector of the economy.
Whoa, okay, let me make sure the audience got that, Brad. Out of these 500 fastest growing companies, 368 come from just one sector?
Precisely. That's the pattern. Take a look. Let's pull up the list of 500 companies again.
All right, sure. Okay, it's up there on the screen.
In this version, I've highlighted all the companies that come from just that one sector. And look, I'm just going to quickly scroll through here. Look at how many companies there are.
One after another. Almost all of them are highlighted. It's almost like the whole screen is highlighted yellow.
In all, 368 companies with revenues increasing 2, 3, 4, 500%, 1,000%, 2,000%, 10,000%, and more.
Well, that's just insane. I would have never imagined so many fast-growing companies would come from just one sector.
And that's the pattern. That's what makes this unique way to collect income possible. So many companies making so much money so fast, and all of them come from just one sector, and what amounts to a horrible year for the broader markets.
Oh yeah, it's simply amazing. And folks, that's the key piece of Brad's research that blew my mind, because we did the math on that. If you take all the companies in North America, and there's a lot, tech companies, crypto companies, retail, healthcare, real estate, financial, energy, the whole shebang, everything, and then you look at just the fastest growing ones, the ones that can make you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, incredibly, 368 out of 500, a full 77% of those companies operate in just one tiny sector of the economy. Now, said another way, this one tiny sector is responsible for 3 out of every 4 of the fastest growing companies in North America right now. It's just incredible.
It is incredible, isn't it? And when you think about that in terms of investing your money, let me give you an analogy to put that into perspective. I'm 6'2", and I love playing basketball. I played a lot of pickup games in my life. And you know who always gets picked up first?
In basketball? Okay, that's easy. Tall guys like you, Brad.
That's exactly my point. All things being equal, in basketball, you pick the tall guys first.
Right.
And it doesn't take a genius to see why. If you've got a bunch of Shaquille O'Neals playing against average Joes, who are you going to bet on, Kim?
If I had to bet, tall guys, of course.
Well, investing in the stock market is no different. You may want to write this down. If you're going to bet, and don't fool yourself, that's what investing is, an educated bet. You should put your money on companies with the most obvious advantage. And what's the most obvious advantage in business?
Well, based on what you just showed me, making lots of money very fast, right?
Bingo. I'm oversimplifying here, but if you put it in absolute terms, which would you rather do? Bet on companies that are losing money at a rapid pace, or bet on companies that are accumulating maximum wealth in minimal time?
That's easy. Of course, I'd pick the latter.
Do this, and you'll win far more than you lose. And that, folks, is my big secret to building wealth.
Well, Brad, that's usually easier said than done, though. But when I saw this list, it totally flipped the script. It changed everything about how I think about investing my own money. Because if so many fast-growing companies are coming from just one sector, it immediately made me think, do I have any money invested there, right? Am I catching this huge tailwind, or am I missing out on this big opportunity?
And that's the key point here. When you dive into the details of what's happening in the one tiny sector, like I have, you'll find every single one of these 368 companies share a key trait. It's the pattern, Kim, and it's by exploiting this pattern that you're able to collect income from hundreds of these fast-growing companies so you can make money right now.
That sounds great, Brad, but why? I mean, why take your approach instead of directly investing in these companies? I mean, you just showed us hundreds of firms that are growing like crazy, and I want a piece of that.
You can't, Kim. You can't get a piece of that action. Most of the companies on this list are private. They're owned by Wall Street insiders, which means you can't invest in them. And what's worse, these fast-growing companies are increasingly making so much money, well, for the most part, they don't need, nor do they want, new outside investors.
I want to hear more about that why they aren't taking investors. But to get this straight, you're saying we're locked out for good?
Well, even if you could directly invest in these private companies, you'd likely have to tie up your money for years, even a decade or more, before seeing a single dime in return.
Okay, no thanks.
And even then, it's a total crapshoot. Kim, do you know how many startups fail?
Well, I never really thought about it, but I'm going to say half of them?
Not even close. I did the research on this. And get this, Founder Equity reports that 17 of every 20 companies backed by venture capitalists fail.
Really? 17 out of 20? Well, I don't like those odds at all.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. And even if you have deep pockets, there's no guarantee of success. For example, even billionaire Mark Cuban admits he hasn't made a single dime from his investment on the hit show Shark Tank. And he's backed 85 tiny startups with $20 million of his own money.
Really? $20 million just down the drain? Well, I guess he can afford to lose that kind of money, but I sure can't.
I don't think many people can afford to gamble like that with their retirement savings. I mean, here's the bottom line. the chances of catching a ride on one of these shooting stars is slim to none, which is why I'm not suggesting invest in any single company. But instead, I want to show you how to tap into the income streams of hundreds of these fast-growing private companies in America to generate thousands of dollars in income. I think that's a much better approach than trying to get lucky and pick the next 100 bagger. Leave that to the billionaire venture capitalist investors who have millions to risk and can afford to wait years to find out if they were right. I'd rather cash checks now.
I'm with you right there. So that begs the question, what is the tiny sector of the economy that produces so many fast-growing companies? This must be related to high-tech companies, right? Like Microsoft, Amazon, or Google?
The only thing that has related to these tech giants is how fast those companies grew. For example, it took 21 years for Microsoft to grow to a $100 billion market cap. Amazon got there in 18 years, but Google hit $100 billion even faster. Just a little over 5 years. Do you see a pattern here, Kim?
Well, one thing that jumps out is it seems to be happening faster and faster.
Exactly. And now private companies are scaling to dizzying heights even faster. In fact, the fastest of these fast-growing companies in history hit $100 billion in just 14 months.
Whoa, okay, from 21 years to, I think you said 5 years to 14 months. That's got to be the fastest path to $100 billion in history.
It's incredible, right? But again, I'm not recommending you invest in any of the 500 companies on the list. Even as lucrative as that can be, as I showed you, there is a lot of risk involved. Nothing is ever guaranteed. The primary goal of my service is to fast track your retirement, not put it at risk.
I like that. But with gains this big, you've got to be talking about something highly technical, Brad, right? Is this about artificial intelligence?
Not at all. There's nothing high tech about this play.
Okay, but there's a lot of money involved, so it's got to be financially related. Is this in the financial sector or maybe cryptocurrency?
Nope. And it's nothing else that's on most people's radar. Not biotechnology, not electric cars, not energy, not the metaverse, and nothing else you'll typically hear on the nightly news, which I find odd because this sector has been a crucial component in my business dealings for decades. I've watched it from the start. And even though its growth is going exponential right now, it's all but completely invisible to most people. I bet not 1 in 1,000 investors know it exists, much less how much money is involved.
So how much money are we talking about here?
Well, to give you a quick example, one of these companies operates in a typical looking building in New Jersey. Here's a picture of it. It doesn't look anything out of the ordinary, right?
Looks like, a typical office building. I wouldn't even give it a second look.
Nothing special, right?
Right.
It could easily be a bunch of cubicles. But get this, $4 trillion moves through this building every single day.
Okay, wait a minute. 4 trillion. You said trillion with a T, right?
I did.
$1 trillion a day. What are they moving, Brad? Are we talking drugs here? You're not suggesting we start dealing drugs, are you?
You think that would be the only way to make that much money so quickly. Right. But no, there's nothing illegal about this. And it's much more lucrative. To put it in perspective, let's compare the $4 trillion a day to the revenue of some of the biggest companies in the world. I've made a list. Can we put it up?
Okay, here we go. Here's the list.
Okay, so Walmart rakes in about $572 billion. Amazon, roughly $470 billion. China's biggest energy supplier pulls down $460 billion. Oil giant Saudi Aramco generates $492 billion. And Apple is up to $387 billion this year. I could go on, but if we take these 5 huge companies, more money moves through this one building in New Jersey in one day than all of these companies make in an entire year combined. Wow. So you ask how much money we're talking about? There's a lot of money moving around here, Kim.
That may be the understatement of the century, Brad. $4 trillion isn't just a lot of money. I mean, that's a Mount Everest-sized pile of money on the move every day. And you're saying the viewers at home can grab some of this wealth for themselves, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's the sheer size of this money mountain, as you put it, that I believe also makes it one of the safest ways to generate income today.
Okay, wait a second, Brad. Doesn't big money also come with big risks?
Well, of course, all investments carry risk. Nothing in life is guaranteed. But the single best way to reduce risk is through diversification. And that's the core of the strategy I'll show you today. Because again, I'm not recommending you invest directly in any single one of these 500 companies. By following my approach, you'll be putting yourself in the profit streams of hundreds of them. And every time they get paid, you get paid. And all it takes is a single ticker.
Wow, one ticker. Wow. I mean, we can cash in on hundreds of the fastest growing private companies in America. I got to say, you're right. I'm getting pretty excited here.
It is exciting. I put all the details of this ticker into a new report. I'll explain how to get that later. But we still haven't even scratched the surface because that building I showed you above that moves $4 trillion a day, this is just one building of hundreds around the world that are involved in this.
Wait, you said hundreds? There are hundreds of buildings just like this one?
That's right. Here's a map of them.
Look at all of them. They're all over the place. The United States, Asia, South America, Africa, Europe. These buildings are everywhere.
But here's the thing. Everything is about to get a lot bigger.
Okay, bigger than $4 trillion a day.
Yes, we're still in the very early stages. Like I said earlier, this sector practically didn't exist until a few years ago. But it's dominating everything right now because it's growing like wildfire. This sector has approximately doubled in size every 3 years, and it's expected to keep up the rapid pace of growth. We have a chart of that. Can we take a look?
Okay, so you're saying it's not too late. There is still time to get in.
Well, the best time to get in is always when trends start. And while this has rapidly picked up steam in the last few years, if you got at the very beginning on the ticker I'm recommending today, you'd be up as high as 1,265%. And that doesn't include all the extra income it churned out in the form of dividends. During the same period, the S&P 500 only gained 281%.
That's not even close, Brad. That's at least what? 4 times better.
More than 4 times better. But like I said, it's just the beginning. Because with the 2 times projected growth of this sector in front of us, I predict this one ticker could continue to vastly outperform the S&P 500 over the coming years, and maybe even be the best investment in your portfolio for years to come. And if you think this is something you can drag your heels, understand nobody else is. With the growth projected to continue, the biggest players in Wall Street are diving in head first.
Like who, Brad?
Everybody. Goldman Sachs invested $1.5 billion. BlackRock is the world's biggest asset manager, and they're going even bigger. They invested $10 billion, saying it will provide a source of perpetual capital. And JP Morgan spent $2 billion investing in this trend just in 2021 and plans to spend $10 billion more.
Wow, it really does sound like everyone is getting involved.
And that's just the beginning. In a recent survey of 105,000 large institutional investors, a full 95% reported they're planning on increasing investment in this sector. And they're not alone. Apple is spending $1.4 billion. Google says they are going to invest $9.5 billion in 2022 alone. And Amazon has already spent $34 billion.
Wow, incredible. That sure does sound like everyone is diving in head first. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, and I could keep going. But other than these insiders, nobody is paying attention to this because there is nothing seemingly exciting about this. I mean, I showed you the picture of the building earlier. It doesn't look anything special.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It looks like just a normal building.
Exactly my point. While the media has everybody hypnotized into seeking riches and whiz-bang technologies that may or may not pan out sometime in the future, nobody is paying attention to the trillions of dollars moving through these nondescript buildings right now. But look, I'm not here to blame anyone. Why would anyone pay attention to yet another office building going up in some side street of an industrial district? Right. But that lack of attention is costing them untold millions of dollars and will cost a heck of a lot more in the future. While the people who do know what I'm about to show you, they're the richest people in the world, or, well, on their way. That's why I wanted to share the pattern shared by all these fast-growing companies today for free. Because in terms of enjoying a stress-free retirement with all the income you could want or need, I believe it's the single most important overlooked piece of information in America today.
Brad, I've got to say, that's really generous of you for free. And that's why we invited you on, because you're one of the few people who is gracious enough to share information like this with regular folks who are just attempting to make sense of this crazy market. And on that note, let's get into this income strategy. How does it work, and how did you discover it?
Well, it's funny. I discovered it by going broke.
Okay, wait a minute, going broke?
Yes, you see, I got rich the first time in commercial real estate. That's what eventually led to a relationship with Donald Trump. I'm going to show you my age here, but this was back in the days of intense national expansion from companies like Blockbuster Video, Athlete's Foot, Advance Auto Parts, and Dollar General. I built for them and others, constructing both freestanding stores and strip malls. I did over $1 billion in deals with the biggest companies in the world and came to own multiple properties and multiple franchises.
Well, that sounds like a pretty great living.
It was.
Yeah.
At the peak, I owned over $100 million in property, and I was collecting over 100 rent checks a month. But then the real estate burst in 2008, and I lost almost everything. My properties, my franchises, my career, my millions.
Oh my gosh, I remember when that happened. It was just awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. Almost everyone was walking around in a daze.
I'll tell you, Kim, I remember walking onto a property I once owned, a supermarket. I looked at a bag boy and thinking to myself, he's got more money than I do.
Oh, ouch. That must have really hurt.
It was a huge punch in the gut, but that wasn't even the worst of it.
Wait a minute, losing everything wasn't the worst of it?
Not by a long shot. You see, I had 5 young kids at the time, and the anxiety of not knowing if I was going to be able to put food on the table, if I wasn't going to be able to feed my family. I mean, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina. Now, I'm not a hillbilly, but we weren't exactly rolling in the dough. And this might not sound politically correct, but where I'm from, you're not a man if you can't provide for your family. There's a stigma attached to it, and I felt it. I went through some dark times.
Sounds like it. Well, I'm from South Carolina too, so I know how it is. So what changed for you?
Well, it's funny what desperation can do. Over all of the years of developing real estate, I noticed those warehouses going up. I just never gave them any thought. But after losing everything, my mind started searching for opportunities. And I started looking at these buildings a little more closely, and it was like a light bulb went off. And that was all it took. I made back everything I lost and then some.
That's an incredible story, Brad. You told me this before we got on camera, but one thing I'm a little jealous of is that you own not one, but 2 Porsches.
Well, you're going to make me blush. And thank you, Kim. But I don't want to misrepresent what happened, though. It's true that I lost everything in what seemed like an instant, but I didn't build it back overnight. Please don't think of anything I'm sharing today as a get-rich-quick scheme. Yes, there's an opportunity to make real money here, but get-rich-quick is a terrible mindset to invest with. It's my job to not only provide you with opportunities to generate a sizable and stable income, but also protect your money at all costs. The primary goal of my research service, Intelligent Income Investor, is safe and consistent returns every single month. And if my get-rich slow and steady method for doing things turns you off, then I mean this with all due respect. I'm probably not the right guy for you.
Well, I'm sure you might have scared a few people away by saying that, but I appreciate your honesty.
Don't get me wrong. I want people who follow me to make lots of money, but I don't want them to go through what I went through. I don't want them up all night, staring at the ceiling, engulfed in anxiety, worrying about their future like I was. I want people to get rich and sleep well at night.
I like the sound of that. And by the following you've amassed, Brad, it looks like you've achieved that goal. On the financial advice website Seeking Alpha, Brad is the #1 most popular contributor and has over 373 5-star reviews from readers. That's a whole lot. And we've got some of those on the screen, but we're just going to read a few here. The service offered pays you back several-fold. My only regret is that I cannot rate the service 10 stars because 5 is the highest option. My portfolio last year beat the Dow and S&P, $30K last year. 9 years ago, I stumbled on his work and life has been on an upswing since. As someone who manages a 9-figure portfolio on Wall Street, Brad's research is easily the best I've seen. Hands down, had the highest return from my portfolio of any advisory service I follow. Has helped me to build a 7-figure portfolio. And that's because many of Brad's recommendations have delivered simply stunning returns like 184% on Apple, 122% on AbbVie, 142% on Brookfield Asset Management, 40% on Cisco, 61% on Essex Property Trust, 62% on Honeywell, 151% on Broadcom, 191% on Lowe's, and many more open recommendations with double and triple digit gains that we won't mention here because that wouldn't be fair to paying subscribers.
I'm very happy with that track record. But here's the thing. While all those gains are incredible, it's nothing compared to what I believe is coming. And here's why. Everything is accelerating. These fast-growing firms are growing faster than ever. As a result, they grow massive proportions before going public. which means insiders make a killing while regular investors miss out on the bigger gains. And that's why there is not much time to act. Because if history is any indication, I fear anyone who doesn't act now is going to be locked out forever.
Well, that doesn't sound good at all. So what do you mean by locked out?
Have you ever heard of the term unicorn, Kim?
The mythical creature that looks like a horse with wings and a horn, or the term for companies with a private market valuation of $1 billion or more?
Right, the second one. But in a private company sense, the term unicorn was mythical until recently. They didn't exist until 2005, but since then, they've been multiplying like rabbits. Forbes reports today there are more than 1,000 unicorns, and here's why that's a problem. I'll use perhaps the most famous example of a unicorn. Facebook. They didn't go public until after hitting a market cap of $100 billion.
$100 billion. That's bigger than most large cap companies.
You're right, I counted. There are only 71 companies in existence today with a market cap north of $100 billion, which means all that wealth Facebook generated before it went public was kept in-house for the insiders, and they made an absolute fortune. In fact, CNN reported one insider turned his initial $500,000 investment into more than $1 billion in cash.
Ooh.
That's a 200,000% gain. Kim, that turns every dollar invested into $2,000. Think about that. Facebook IPO'd at $38, which means if you did everything perfectly, if you bought at the IPO and sold at the peak, at most, you'd have the chance to make 894% gains. Meanwhile, insiders made 200,000%.
Oh my goodness, 894% versus 200,000%. I mean, that's outrageous.
It's crazy, right? In other words, insiders had the chance to make 223 times more money than people like you and me. Does that seem fair to you?
Absolutely not. What you're saying is I'd have to perfectly time the market just to make a small fraction of what the insiders make. I mean, how can regular investors like me compete with that?
And that's why I'm warning that time is of the essence, because it's only going to be worse from here.
Brad, stop. Just stop. Okay, you're going to give me an aneurysm here. You just told me I missed out on 1,000 of the fastest growing companies in the world. So how can it get any worse than that?
Because the fast growing companies in this sector are so lucrative. They're staying private even longer. I mean, if we just look at the tech sector, a University of Florida study found that in 1999, the average age for a company to go public was just 4.5 years. By going public early, it allowed public investors to get in early and enjoy the ride up.
But let me guess, I assume that's not happening anymore.
Right. By 2020, it took the average company 12 years to go public. And like I just showed you, a lot of those companies had already grown to unicorns before they went public.
Which means the biggest gains went to the insiders.
You're catching on. And that's why I'm saying investors will be locked out forever if they don't act now. This unicorn trend is growing. In fact, there were 340 new unicorns last year, according to a Forbes report. That's more unicorns than any of the previous 5 years combined.
So this trend is really speeding up, and that's the reason behind the urgency.
That's why time is of the essence here, because the pick of fast-growing publicly traded companies is growing smaller by the day. In fact, the fastest of the fastest-growing companies even have a name. They're called hyperscalers because they can scale to these dizzying heights with outrageous speed. And unless you can figure out a way to make money from these fast-growing private hyperscale companies like I have, the odds of you making a profit in the stock market grow worse by the day.
Okay, we got unicorns, we got hyperscalers. Okay, Brad, please, enough with the suspense. What exactly is this sector and why are the companies in it growing so fast?
Okay, we'll answer those questions in order. I call it the real-time sector. And perhaps the best way to explain why companies in this sector are growing so fast is with an example. Kim, have you ever used a navigation app on your phone like Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze?
Oh yeah, of course. I use it all the time whenever I need directions.
You and hundreds of millions of other people around the world. And for good reason. Why carry around a stack of folding maps and a magnifying glass to look for routes when you can just tap in your address on your iPhone?
It's so easy. It's a no-brainer.
Now here's what's really cool about those apps. They used to just provide directions. But have you noticed how those apps can reroute you in real time when there's an accident ahead?
Oh yeah, it's great. It's convenient. I love it.
Google Maps introduced this feature in 2015. And over the years, it's gotten better. Now Google Maps can even tell you if there's a speed trap ahead, so you can slow down and avoid a costly ticket.
I gotta say, I love that feature. I'm gonna be honest here. Saved me a few times.
Me too. And it's all made possible by the increasing amount of real-time data that's available. In this case, the rapid transmission of real-time data helps drivers avoid a lot of headaches on the road, like traffic accidents that just happened, or cops setting up speed traps ahead. And it's this increasing amount of real-time data combined with the ability to reach hundreds of customers like that makes it possible for these new crop of companies to exist.
So those 368 companies on the list of 500 you showed earlier, that's why these firms can grow so fast, because they have increased access to real-time data?
That, and they solve problems people wanted solved right now. For example, look at Waze, the navigation app. They pioneered the use of real-time data for traffic. It's one of those 1,000 unicorns I mentioned earlier. It was launched in 2006. Google bought it 7 years later for $1.3 billion. The founders profited to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And get this, over 100 insiders walked away with over $1 million each. Imagine becoming a millionaire in 7 years.
I'm imagining it right now. For most people, it would take a lifetime to accumulate that much wealth.
Right. But in this case, it was only possible for insiders because Waze never went public. They grew bigger and bigger, so insiders kept all the profit to themselves. But again, let me stress, my strategy does not involve investing in private companies. That's too risky for the average investor. Instead, it's by tapping into the income stream of these hyperscalers, the money involved with the sending and receiving all this real-time data that makes it possible to collect thousands of dollars from all of these companies.
Okay, well, I want to get into the details of your strategy, but I've got to push back here just a little bit, because earlier you said this isn't about high-tech companies, but the example you just gave is about Google. So I hope you're not suggesting Google isn't a high-tech company.
Of course Google is a high-tech company, but GPS navigation and Google Maps isn't high-tech anymore. It was invented in the 1970s. It's been around for decades. You can't say that about all the new experimental technology coming out, like genetic editing, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and more. Compared to that, GPS is practically Stone Age technology.
Well, you've got a point there.
And that's why this is so exciting to me. This is not about gambling on the latest high-tech buzzword that has a 1 in a million chance of succeeding. This is about low-tech. This is about companies that are combining old-school, tried-and-true technology we know works and has worked for decades with the ever-growing availability of real-time data to collect income that I predict will grow bigger day after day, month after month, year after year, as this sector keeps growing like crazy, just like it has for the past decade. And doing it all from just one ticker. It's something that's never been possible before until now.
So how is the company behind this ticker involved?
It's the only reason these small firms can grow so big, so fast. In short, it supercharges data transfer time. It's what makes ordinary data real time. These fast-growing companies can't exist without it, which is why thousands of firms, both big and small, use this company services. And it's why I'm suggesting you buy this ticker immediately, because it puts you smack dab in the middle of income stream of hundreds of companies that rely on real-time data.
Okay, you mentioned GPS and real-time traffic data. Can you give me some other examples?
Sure. Consider the pacemaker, invented in the 1950s. It's a tried and true device that can help a weak heart keep beating. It saved millions of lives. But get this, by adding simple sensors to a pacemaker, it's now possible for them to sense when a heartbeat starts to go awry. And it can send this data in real time to first responders.
Wow, it sounds like a lifesaver.
It is, and it's remarkably easy to do. You just marry two pieces of tried and true tech, the pacemaker and the sensor, and then plug it into this real-time network, and boom, you've got a new valuable service that millions of people will gladly pay for. Because let me ask you, if you had a heart condition, would you pay for a service that tracked your heart in real time? That could save your life should you have a heart attack.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If it saved my life, it would be worth every penny.
And those people will continue to pay for this service forever. Think of it like your cell phone. Kim, how long have you owned a cell phone?
Oh, gee, I don't know, probably more than 20 years. I know, yeah, something like that.
Are you ever going to get rid of it?
I don't see how I could at this point. You know, it's like tied to my hip, because besides using the phone to make business calls and stay in touch with family and friends, I really use it for everything. I've got my email, my calendar. You know.
It's too valuable, right?
Yeah.
Your cell phone is a source of real-time information. It's too valuable to go without. Now let me ask you, Kim, how much is your monthly cell phone bill?
Okay, I'm a little embarrassed to say I don't even know anymore. I don't know. I've had it on auto bill for years, so maybe $100 a month?
Wow, you're lucky. With my family of 7, I'm stroking a $600 check to AT&T every single month.
Ooh, $600. Whew, that's a lot.
But you made my point for me. It's so important you pay for it without even thinking about it. And think about it. $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. Over a decade, that's what, 12 grand?
Ooh,
so in the 20 years you've had a cell phone, that means you've paid $24,000 to your cell phone provider.
Ooh, $24,000. I never really thought about it like that.
And that's why investing in this real-time revolution is so lucrative and predictable. You've paid just one company, your cell phone provider, $24,000 to provide you with real-time information. But as you saw in the list above, hundreds of new real-time companies are coming online right now. And just like the cell phone companies, in a lot of cases, once they get a customer, they've got an income stream for life. The result? All these companies make reliable, predictable income month after month after month. And that's why I'm pounding the table on this one ticker, because it supercharges data transfer time. It's what makes hyperscale companies possible in the first place. And by investing in this one ticker, you'll put yourself smack dab in the middle of the income stream of hundreds of hyperscale companies that exist right now, and potentially thousands of hyperscale companies that will be coming online in the future as this trend picks up steam. Companies that you otherwise would not be able to profit from, because as I also showed you, they are increasingly staying privately held for longer and longer.
All right, Brad, sign me up. Okay, what's the name and ticker of that company?
That information is reserved for my paid subscribers. But I put all the details inside a special report that I'd like to give everyone access to. It's called the Real-Time Revolution: How to Earn Endless Income on America's Fastest Growing Companies.
And I've got the details of that report for our viewers. In this report, Brad will give you all the details on this company, including its name and ticker symbol. This company puts you smack dab in the income stream of hundreds of real-time companies. And so you can investigate this trend further for yourself. You'll get details on how this real-time revolution is quickly touching every aspect of our lives. And as a special bonus in this report, you'll get the names of the 500 fastest growing companies in America that Brad showed you earlier. Every single one. Everything you need to help you jump on this opportunity of a lifetime before it picks up any more steam. So Brad, I want to know more about how this works. How can these companies get so much real-time data?
Well, that brings up a little bit of the dark side of what's going on here.
Ooh, the dark side. Okay. Everything sounded great up until now. So you're telling me that there is a downside to this.
Well, I want to make sure viewers get the full picture here. And the truth is, right now, we are being surrounded by an ever-growing list of devices that collect data in real time. Cell phones, computers, cameras, drones, sensors on your car, your place of work, your home, and in some cases, even inside your body. All these devices are constantly collecting data that companies then use to turn a profit.
Yeah, you know, that's it's kind of a little scary when you put it that way.
You may not like it. You may think it's an invasion of your privacy. But whatever your personal feelings are about it, you need to put them aside, because it's an unstoppable trend. Remember this graph I showed you earlier?
Yes.
What that shows is how much data is created and stored every year. And as you can see, it's growing at an exponential pace, almost doubling every 3 years.
I mean, that's truly exponential growth. And that's why you're saying it's an unstoppable trend.
That's right. You can dislike it. You can say it's an invasion of privacy. You can chuck your cell phone in a river and go live in the woods to try to escape it. But Kim, you can't stop it. You can't stop it. Your only choice is, will you choose to ignore this information, or will you use it to your benefit? That's a personal decision. And whatever direction you choose, I respect it. But with or without you, the world will keep turning. You can move without it, or you can be left behind. Either way, the list of companies that rely on real-time data is growing. They make a lot of money, and you can grab a piece of that ever-growing pie. Plus, a lot of those companies are doing a lot of good. I already gave you examples of how real-time data combined with GPS saves drivers time and money, and how pacemakers combined with real-time data save lives. But that barely scratches the surface. Have you heard about all of these hackers breaking into company computer systems and holding them ransom for millions of dollars?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. It's a huge crisis.
In just one example, hackers took control of the University of California, San Francisco health computer system. They paid over $1 million to get their data back.
Ooh, that's just awful.
But get this, Expel Security, they're on the list of the 500 fastest growing companies, provide real-time security data scanning, and can catch a hack and fix it in 3 minutes. Pricing for this service starts at $11,000 a year. But to prevent a hack that could cost millions, is it worth it?
Well, the company's growing like crazy, so obviously people are paying for that service.
That's right. Here's another example. By 2028, the entire city of Los Angeles wants to become the world's first smart city. They envision kiosks that can translate languages in real time so visitors can speak in any language. They want to install time-stop lights so traffic flows better all over the city. And all police officers will have body cameras that transmit data real time to help fight crime.
And I've already heard about and seen police officers with those body cameras.
And then there's the EV trend. Elon Musk said the key to Tesla's future is self-driving electric vehicles, even going so far as to say Tesla would be worth basically zero without it. Well, a car can't drive itself without real-time data. Traffic lights, other cars on the road, kids running out in the road. A car that drives itself requires all this real-time data or people die. I could go on, but I think you get the point. The real-time revolution is coming, and it's coming fast. Bottom line, unless you believe modern society is going back to the Stone Age, then this trend of data collection is only going to get bigger from here. The biggest gains lie ahead.
And Brad, I think a light bulb just went off for me. This explains why earlier you mentioned the building that moves $4 trillion in wealth every day and how thousands more are popping up all around the world. Well, the world needs all these new buildings to handle the increasing amount of real-time data, right?
Are you for hire?
Yes, I am.
Can I get you on my team of analysts?
Absolutely.
You are absolutely correct. The important thing to understand is we're on the brink of a technological shift, unlike anything we've seen since the dawn of the internet. Most people, other than a handful of insiders, don't get it. That's why I want to make sure people know what's happening and how to take advantage of it. That's why I revealed my research today for free. I wanted everyone to understand at a fundamental level exactly why the world's fastest growing companies are growing so fast. It's only with this deep understanding that I believe you'll be able to make money in these crazy markets. Because let's face it, and Kim, I'm going to talk directly to viewers here. We are not in the same market we were a year ago. Depending on who you ask, we are either in a recession or quickly approaching one. Inflation is running rampant with no end in sight. And we just lived through the worst stock market in 50 years. Whatever approach you had to investing, to earning income, to saving for retirement last year, forget about it, because today is different. And if the information I shared today gave you some new insight into what is happening in the world right now, and if you are still watching this interview, it must have, because why else would you still be here? Then I suggest you get the full story in my new report, The Real-Time Revolution, Endless Income on America's Fastest Growing Companies.
Brad, I'm sure a lot of folks are going to want to get their hands on this report. So I'm going to just take a second and pass along instructions on how you can get it instantly. It's really simple. This report is available right now to new members of Brad's income advisory service, the Intelligent Income Investor. The minute you request access, you'll get the Real-Time Revolution, Endless Income on America's Fastest Growing Companies. It includes why the real-time revolution is kicking into high gear right now, why it's giving birth to, as Brad showed you today, 77% of North America's fastest growing companies right now, and the name and ticker symbol of the company at the center of it all. It's right in the middle of the income stream of hundreds of these fast-growing companies. And with this trend poised to grow 2 times bigger over the next 3 years, just like it has for years, Brad predicts this single stock could easily double from here, while generating thousands of dollars in income, depending on your stake. Plus, as a bonus in this report, you'll get the names of every single one of the 500 fastest growing companies in America. In short, you'll get everything you need to get up to speed. Brad, what is the Intelligent Income Investor for the folks at home?
Kim, Intelligent Income Investor is my flagship service. It's where I analyze what's going on in the markets, and each month delivers the best income opportunities to my subscribers. The whole point of Intelligent Income Investors is to give you an understanding of the big picture, what's going on in the financial world, and how you can profit without putting your retirement nest egg at risk. Simply put, we give you actionable advice. And unlike the mainstream media, we accept zero outside advertising, so there is zero conflict of interest. We are beholden to no one but our readers.
Well, I really wish I had something like this when I was just starting out, because Brad, we are up against it these days. I mean, after the year we just had, I've lost the equivalent of an annual salary in my personal investing accounts. And I know I'm not alone out there. I don't know how I'm going to stop the losses, much less, make that kind of money back. And with inflation at historic highs, I doubt whatever I get from my Social Security check when I retire is going to cover much at all. It feels like I'm getting attacked from all angles,
It's a full frontal assault on your wealth. And for the average investor, with a job, a family, all the pressures of life, it's impossible. That's why so many people feel overwhelmed right now. But if you don't trust the media to tell you the facts, and you don't trust the government to take care of you, you're going to love Intelligent Income Investor. I've made it my life's work to help make investing fun, simple, and most of the time profitable, because I know how hard it is for most people. I know what it's like to literally have nothing in the bank, to be facing down a stack of bills and 5 hungry children, and wonder how you're going to keep the lights on and feed your family. Kim, I didn't start out wealthy. And after I made millions, I lost it all and had to start all at the bottom again. It wasn't easy clawing my way back to the top. And getting rich doesn't happen overnight. But take it from a guy who has been broke twice in his life. You're not alone. The so-called American dream, it's not so easy to achieve anymore because you can't just work hard and save money. Warren Buffett put it best when he said, if you don't find a way to make money when you're asleep, you will work until you die. Take it from one of the most successful investors in history. You've got to invest wisely. That's the only way to get ahead. And you've got to do it in a way that doesn't leave you stressing out about money every other moment of the day. You've got to enjoy life, but it's not easy. Most people, even if they're making $200,000 a year and saving every penny left over, they'd be lucky to amass $1 million for retirement. And with inflation raging, life is getting more expensive by the day.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I've had those exact same worries. It seems like the price of everything is going up nowadays, groceries, gas, but you're doing the opposite. I understand you've secured a discount for anyone watching this broadcast that subscribes today. And Brad, I was already surprised at how little you charge for access to your research. If the price were $2,000 per year, or even $1,000 per year, it would be a bargain. And yet anyone who acts today will receive a discount from the already low Intelligent Income Investor retail price of $199.
Yes, and we'll circle back to that. And even that is a moot point because everyone is covered by my 100% money back guarantee. But one thing I want to mention first is, with Intelligent Income Investor, my hope is that we can help people improve their lives. In turn, they'll stick with me for the long haul. I don't come out ahead unless you're making money. It's as simple as that, which is why I want to give everyone who joins today another bonus report.
Really? Another bonus report. All right, that's very generous. Tell us all about it.
Again, it's about a unique way to collect income from private companies. But this report is not about collecting income from small, fast-growing private companies. It's about collecting income from the biggest profit-generating machines on the planet. Big brand name companies you see every day and spend money at. But they do not trade on the stock market. I'm talking about well-established legacy brands that churn out so much money for their owners, they don't need or want retail investors. This was my bread and butter income strategy during my first career in real estate.
And what kind of companies are you talking about here?
A good example is Chick-fil-A, the fast food giant that practically invented the double drive-through because they have so many customers. Kim, have you ever seen a drive-through lane at a Chick-fil-A that's not packed to the brim with cars?
Oh yeah, you can't miss it there. You can see the line from miles away.
It's almost like the Great Wall of China. I bet you could see it from outer space.
Maybe.
I'm joking, of course. But what a great business. They are private, so we can't get numbers. But they've got around 2,600 locations in 47 states.
So they've got to be making money hand over fist.
And no wonder the owners say no thanks to retail investors. You can buy a franchise, but then you're not an investor. You're a business owner managing a bunch of teenagers frying chicken.
Oh, no thanks. I've got a couple of teenagers at home.
And that's not what I'm recommending you do. because I've discovered a single stock that lets you profit from the income stream of hundreds of big privately held companies like Chick-fil-A. I'm talking about Bass Pro Shops, Dunkin' Donuts, Aspen Dental, Discount Tire, LA Fitness, Panera Bread, Waffle House, and hundreds more. These companies have been operating in front of your eyes for decades, and every day, thousands of customers spend money at these retail establishments. But the mainstream media ignores the consistent income stream because these companies do not have publicly traded stock tickers. But when you take a risk-free subscription to Intelligent Income Investor, I'll also give you my free report called Retail Riches, Get Paid from 95 of the biggest private companies in America. It will walk you step by step through how to profit from 95 of the biggest and best known privately held companies in the country, all through a regular brokerage account.
So the no frying chicken, right? Okay, well, that's fascinating, and I can't wait to check it out. If you're wondering how to get started, you can get everything Brad mentioned today 100% risk-free. And I know we've covered a lot today, so let me just quickly recap everything you'll get when you take a risk-free trial to Brad's research. You get 12 months of Intelligent Income Investor, including Brad's best investment ideas delivered on the first Monday of each month. That's a $199 value. And you get Brad's 2 new free reports, including the Real-Time Revolution, Endless Income from America's Fastest Growing Companies, which includes the one ticker in the profit stream of hundreds of hyperscalers, also a $199 value, and Retail Riches, Get Paid from 95 of the biggest private companies in America, another $199 value. If you have any questions at all about your subscription, aside from personal advice, of course, Brad's team is standing by, ready to help. In addition, you'll get full support from his US-based support team. Call or email them anytime if you have any questions about your subscription. Plus, you'll get access to Brad's model portfolio, which in total includes 24 open stock recommendations. All of this valuable research can be found on the members-only website, so everything is easy to find right at your fingertips. From monthly issues to updates, everything you need. You'll even get priority notification via email and text message each time Brad uncovers a new investment opportunity. That's a total value of $597, which is an incredible bargain considering the retail price of Intelligent Income Investor is $199. But today, you won't pay anywhere near that because the whole point of this interview is to help as many people as possible. We don't want anyone to feel excluded or feel like this kind of life-changing advice is out of reach. So today, Brad has done something I think to say is generous would be an understatement. He's secured an additional 75% discount from his publisher, which takes the price all the way down to just $49. That's about $4 a month, the equivalent of a cup of coffee in most places. For access to elite research that's proven to transform the lives of everyday Americans, it's an absurdly good deal.
I agree, Kim, and that's no accident. The whole point of Intelligent Income Investor is to give my readers the kind of insights I'd want if our roles were reversed, and to do it in such a way that it doesn't break the bank.
Wow, that is beyond generous. And folks, your subscription is again 100% risk-free. So you get 60 days to go through everything. You can go through everything you've seen today, and during that time, if you are not completely thrilled, just contact our US-based customer service and cancel your subscription, and you'll get a full refund for the cost of your subscription, no questions asked. You don't have to return anything. Just keep everything you received as Brad's way of saying thanks. So you should see a link up on your screen now. You can click this button and you'll be taken to a secure order form where you can read all about this deal, including all the benefits of being a member of Intelligent Income Investor. If you want to find out the names of Brad's recommendations, which I know I do and I know you do too, you absolutely want to click that button right now. Anything else, Brad?
Let me say one last thing. There's this great quote from Amazon's Jeff Bezos. I'm going to paraphrase here, but he said people want to know what he thinks is going to change in the next 10 years. But he says that's not the question he thinks about. He thinks people should be asking themselves and invest in the things that are not going to change in the next 10 years. Bezos says that it is a much more valuable question because you can build a business strategy around the things that are stable over time. As an example, he points to Amazon, He knows customers want low prices. He knows customers want fast delivery. He knows that's going to continue to be true for 10 years from now. Nobody is saying, gee, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish your prices were higher and it took longer to get my stuff. Impossible. It's not going to happen. So that's what you have to ask yourself. Is human innovation going to stop? We learned to wield fire. We invented the wheel. We went to outer space. But in 2022, is this all going to grind to a halt? Or is humanity going to do what it's done for millennia? Are we going to keep pushing, looking for innovative solutions to the world's problems? I'm going to bet on humanity, Kim. I'm going to bet the best and brightest are going to continue to make the world a better place. That's why I showed you what some of the companies are doing today. These companies are making the world a better place, and hundreds of them are simply exploding higher for gains of 200%, 500%, 1,000%, 10,000%, and one as high as 87,000%. And that's why I believe the real-time revolution is just getting started. And why I believe if you take a stake in the company I'm recommending today, you could collect endless income for the fastest growing companies in America every day for the rest of your life. Now, what you do with this information is up to you. You can act on it or you can choose to ignore it. But I urge you to click on the link and make your decision soon. I've shown you how everyone on Wall Street is getting involved, how the pace of growth is picking up, and how these companies are staying private longer, effectively locking out the average investor from the bigger profits. I don't know how much longer the window of opportunity will be open. And if you miss this, there won't be another chance. But there is one thing I'm certain of. All this is going to happen with or without you. I want to thank you for your time today. For instant access to my research, just click the Get Started button to get started.